But what I want to talk about, we were talking with Jim Ryan about the convention and the Republican National Convention. And, you know, I literally could spend the entire show today and tomorrow picking out little clips and saying, oh, listen to this, listen to this, listen to this. But I can't do that because it is, you know, not the right use of my time. But I want to say there were several stellar things at the Republican National Convention. The opening point I was going to make, which we already made talking with Congressman Ryan, was that you just sense a brightness, an optimism, a sense of hope, ideas just kind of exuding from the Republican National Convention, from a variety of the speakers, just the whole attitude of just upbeat, positive, this is America, we can do this, we can fix our problems. There was a great speech by Melania Trump. I'm just going to play a very short segment of what she had to say. She hit on a lot of great points. I will tell you that I found a transcript of her entire remarks to the Republican National Convention that she made. There's a transcript of them. You can find them on our website, americacanwetalk.org, because I thought she was eloquent, gracious, complimentary, but she also said some fairly profound things, some seriously profound things. I want to ask Matt the Wonderful to play this clip, and then we'll talk about it.
Growing up as a young child in Slovenia, which was under communist rule at the time, I always heard about an amazing place called America, a land that stood for freedom and opportunity. As I grew older, it became my goal to move to the United States and follow my dream of working in the fashion industry. Like all of you, I have reflected on the racial unrest in our country. It is a harsh reality that we are not proud of parts of our history. I encourage people to focus on our future while still learning from our past. We must remember that today we are all one community comprised of many races, religions, and ethnicities. Our diverse and storied history is what makes our country strong, and yet we still have so much to learn from one another. With that in mind, I like to call on the citizens of this country to take a moment, pause, and look at things from all perspectives. I urge people to come together in a civil manner so we can work and live up to our standard American ideals. I also ask people to stop the violence and looting being done in the name of justice, and never make assumptions based on the color of a person's skin.
She was stellar. First, I'll make some comments about what she had to say. You know, she speaks 5 languages or something like that. You know, she's obviously able to speak very articulately in English with a beautiful accent. And she just, you know, to have the confidence to go before a national audience, the entire country, she's fully aware of how, as soon as she finished speaking, in fact, even before she started speaking, there would be leftists who would criticize her choice of her dress, her comments. Why didn't she say this? She should have said this. Why? And she got up there and very gracious, very calm, very lovely, and she just exuded love of the American people. I love that she addressed directly the violence in our country. And she didn't just say, and this is an important thing as we go on talking more and more about, we'll be talking about what happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin, today and tomorrow. We'll be talking about the tremendous tension we see in the American cities and the rioting. She didn't just do the rah-rah, police are right and all the rioters are bad. She didn't do any of she actually did, which is the higher ground. She actually went high as opposed to claiming, you know, when the other side goes low, we go high. She actually went high. But she talked about the idea essentially in the, you know, another way of saying it, put yourself in someone else's shoes. Everybody of every background, put yourself in someone else's shoes. Think for a moment how the experience, the episode that you're all talking about, how is it received or perceived by other people who don't have the same background as you do? She implored people to stop the violence in the name of seeking justice. I thought these were not just, they were thoughtful and they were substantive and they were healing. they were ideas. Now, obviously, she can't set policy and force everyone to follow her recommendations of listening to each other and stop the violence and put yourself in someone else's shoes. But she's taken the high ground. And the only ground you can take if you actually want resolution, if you actually want America to get better. It's the only ground you can take, is to say, you can't just say, this is one group of Americans with a particular race or ethnicity in their background and another group of Americans, and we're going to fight it out based on race. There's no winner in that. And so she's acknowledging that. She's acknowledging a higher, better thought about how we see each other, how we deal with each other. She addressed first of all, she addressed the women getting the right to vote. She addressed COVID and, expressed sympathy for the families who had lost people. It was really a wide-ranging, lovely, loving speech, and really quite a contrast, in my view, to the attitude that emanated from the other side in last week's speech at the Democrat National Convention. Two other highlights from this week from the RNC. One was that Nicholas Sandmann spoke. I had clips ready from him, but we just didn't have the time to get to it. Nicholas Sandmann is a young man who attended private Covington Catholic, a private Catholic school in Kentucky, who went to Washington, part of a pro-life march, and he did a really good job. And the kid is 18 or something, or 17 or 18. And he knew he was speaking with the Lincoln Memorial behind him. He's speaking to a national audience, very composed, very serious, and basically said, I went to Washington because I'm pro-life. I support the president because this is the most pro-life president we ever had. I got a MAGA hat because I'm grateful for this president. And he was confronted by this Native American, just kind of perpetual professional activist and agitator. And when that person got in his face and banging his drum, he just stood there frozen. He didn't mouth off. He didn't make a face at him. He just kind of froze. And the national media, as you all know the story, I will skip all the details, went after him, labeled him. And what he said, though, at the RNC speech was that he's a good example of cancel culture, because his life changed forever that day. And no one in the media, before they ran with these stories of accusing him of taunting some poor innocent guy who was standing around, making it sound like he was the aggressor, it was the most unfair, misjudged, just horrible attack on him. And he spoke about this, that my life changed forever. And I, Nick Sandmann, I'm going to tell you I'm an example of cancel culture. And the media does this, and it is wrong. Okay, so that was it. And the last quick highlight from the RNC last night I want to quick touch on was just that President Trump did the naturalization ceremony. He was pre-taped, but they played it at the RNC, naturalizing some citizens, basically having people become citizens from 5 different countries. And it was just a portrayal of, this is how you come to America legally. This is how you follow the process, and then you get to have a ceremony, and you get sworn in as a citizen of the United States of America. It's a beautiful thing. And you could tell it was effective because it drove the left completely nuts, that they had to be the ones that had to cover it. And of course, they were very quick to say, well, he's against immigration. Who's he to say this? No, he's not against immigration. He's against illegal immigration. He's fine with and in favor of legal immigration, which is what was shown at that ceremony. So RNC, to me, it is just beaming, is bursting with a positive, hopeful message about America. That's what he's doing. I love it. And it's a huge contrast for America. I had a friend call me like at 6 a.m. today to comment about have you watched the Democrat versus Republican convention? She's just saying the Democrats, such a dark picture of America's past, a dark picture of our country, our culture, and no plans for the future except, complaining and don't worry, President Charles will fix everything.